Welcome back to Torah in 10, Parshas Vayelech. I'm Jody Berkel, and I'm so excited to be here with you again. I hope everyone had a meaningful Rosh Hashanah. What's the life-changing idea Rabbi Sacks of Blessed memory teaches us this week? Whatever your achievements, there is always a second mountain to climb, and it may turn out to be your greatest legacy to the future. Rabbi Sacks asks us a question, and I quote, "What do you do when you've achieved it all? When you have risen to whatever career heights fate or providence has in store for you? What do you do as age lengthens its shadow, the sun sinks, and the body is no longer as resilient or the mind as sharp as it once was?" One of my prayers is a prayer for long life. I look at my gray hairs and my smile lines and other signs of aging that I won't mention here with gratitude, because I know this blessing is not given to everyone. What will keep us young in spirit when our body doesn't always keep up? What's the secret? For this, like everything else, we look to our Torah for the answer. At the end of his life, we're told about Moses that his eyes were undimmed and his natural energy unchanged. At the opening of this Parsha, we hear from Moses himself, and he says, "I am now 120 years old. I can no longer come and go, and the Lord has told me, you shall not cross this Jordan." Rashi, the great Torah commentator, tells us that the "I no longer" doesn't mean he couldn't because he lacked the strength. It means that he no longer had permission. The time had come for him to hand over the reins of leadership to his successor and student Joshua. Moses was still capable at 120. He was strong and full of life, as we see in his passionate addresses to his people in the last month of his life. Rabbi Sacks explains how this was possible using two concepts. One, given by developmental psychologist Erik Erikson, who spoke about life stages. He says that later in life, many people's perspective changes. They begin to think about the legacy that they want to leave. Their focus changes from self to others. Many people devote their time to family, to their community, to mentoring the next generation who may follow in their career path, and they increase their volunteer work. They ask themselves, how can I contribute to the world? What trace will I leave to those who live on after me? What in the world will be better because of me? These are deep questions, perfect for this time of year, don't you think? The second concept, says Rabbi Sacks, comes from David Brooks, the idea of a second mountain. Speaking to people over 70 years old, he found that early in their lives, they knew the mountain they were going to climb. They had aspirations of a family and a career. They had a vision of themselves, of who they wanted to become. By age 70, some had achieved it and were happy. Others had achieved it only to find that it wasn't as satisfying as they had anticipated. And others had been knocked off the mountain by life circumstances. At a certain age, though, many people identified a second mountain they wanted to climb. This mountain was not about achieving, but about giving. It was much less about external accomplishments, success, fame, than about internal accomplishment. It was spiritual, moral. It was about devoting yourself to a cause or giving back to the community. David Brooks says, often people have this inner voice that whispers, I want to do something good with my life. I want my life to mean something. It's very emotional. The second mountain associated with later in life might just prove to be more significant to our self-worth than the ego-driven ascent of our first mountain. And this brings us back to Moses. What do you do when you've achieved it all? When you accomplish more than any human being has ever done before, and will ever do in the future. Moses had spoken to God face to face. As God's faithful servant, he led his people from slavery to freedom, put up with our constant complaints, tolerated our rebelliousness, prayed for us, gained our forgiveness from God, and was the messenger of the Torah. What else was there to do for such a person? As Moses faced the end of his own life, he moved from a liberator and miracle worker to Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher, the man who taught Torah to the next generation. Throughout the book of Devarim, we hear Moses speak not just about laws, but about love of God to us, and about our love to God. He speaks about our past and our future, going over our history in the desert and the challenges that we will face going forward. Moses is not speaking to his contemporaries. He's speaking to those who will live on after him. This, says Rabbi Sacks, was Moses' second mountain. And here we learn such a powerful life lesson. Moses knew that he wouldn't be accompanying the people into the land of Israel, and he would not be succeeded by his sons. This meant that Moses had to become the teacher of the next generation. He had to pass on to them his insights into the future. He had to make the people his students, and we have been his students ever since. All of this, says Rabbi Sacks, is a powerful and potentially life-changing message for us. Whatever our life has been up to now, there's another chapter to be written, focused on being a blessing to others, sharing whatever gifts we have with those who have less, handing over our values to the next generation, and using our experience in life to help others through a difficult time of their own. How beautiful to be encouraged to do something that has nothing to do with our personal ambitions and much more to do with wanting to leave the world a little better off than how we found it. This is the perfect time of year to focus on our second mountain. What do we want it to look like? Let's ask God to help us climb it. May we all be blessed with opportunities that build a legacy of kindness that will make life better for at least one person on earth. Gemar Chatima Tova, and Shabbat Shalom to you, my friends.